So today we're going to be looking at the best meta players in each position, going from low, medium and a high rating. So we're going to go and have a look through a few of them, starting off straight away with the goalkeepers. Now a lot of people have different opinions on this one, and I do think now we've got the top keeper easily. Obviously with that one it is the brand new introductions of the lovely Centurions icons, and for me I don't think there's any other choice than going with Van der Sar. This year he's still absolutely fantastic. He's obviously coming in at a pretty big price as well. That one for me is quite an easy one. With the goalkeepers it's hard to find like a medium and a low because obviously they're not that expensive. When you look across the board, like you've got 800 for Buffon, you're looking at 758 for Van der Sar, and as soon as you get past the icons you're looking at 90k, 50k, 30k, and then you just basically hit the wall. So instead of the absolute low price, I'm personally going to go with Courtois and also Alisson for this. These three keepers for me are the easiest ones to go with, and to be honest, like I've always said with goalkeepers, you can just stick with gold. It's not necessarily a big deal if you don't have a Van der Sar, if you don't have a Schmeichel, a Yashin, a Buffon. They will come later, Team of the Year keeper will come later, and it's absolutely fine. But that is number one in my opinion. I absolutely love Van der Sar this year again. He's just always been very consistent between the sticks. Courtois is another one of them. They obviously have added the Playstyle Plus, so depending on if you prefer them or not, I personally like the Close Down Plus. I think it's really good whenever I've been slipped up and I've let them through. Sometimes I can kind of juke or jockey them out with my keeper as well because he does come out quite quickly. Obviously then you've got Alisson who's got the deflector instead, and again still has a very good weight when it comes to being in net. Obviously Ederson's up there. You've then got all of the icons. I think Tim Howard seems to be definitely the better hero goalkeeper, even though Dudek's definitely slightly behind him.
If you need coins in FC25, lootbar.gg has you covered. They are the cheapest trading platform on the game, 8 to 10% cheaper than any others, 8% off if you use the code JT11 at the end at checkout, plus you get 5% extra on coins. With the fastest delivery system going, used by many FC25 creators such as Zorky, Manny Plus, and even Pro owners. So if you need any coins, head over to lootbar.gg, make sure JT11's in the promo code, and hopefully you enjoy.
Now then we move on to left backs then. So in terms of left back, we've got some decent options again. It's nice that we don't have to keep going through left wing back and left back in because they've took them away. We've got a few nice options. Obviously the most expensive is going to be Theo Hernandez. We'll kind of go through him as well. Lizarazu's definitely up there. Roberto Carlos seems to be less and less on the base version, more towards the end once he starts to get a special version, as Deadball Plus is fantastic if you get a lot of free kicks. I just don't. So there's very little reason to actually have him. And also with this, evolutions are going to be very hard to show you on this because obviously I can't do the concepts of evolutions, I suppose. But in terms of the top, I think Theo does hold it down, to be honest. The 88 is worth a whopping price of 1.5 million. Now, obviously, I would always recommend just going and getting the gold version. That is just going to be my personal preference there. Obviously, with him, there's not that much of a difference other than having a dynamic. So definitely go for the gold version instead. You'll still have just as much fun. Then we look into the sort of medium value, and I think this one's quite an easy one, to be honest. It's kind of on the lower value more so than medium, but I do think it works very, very well as we keep going down to a Furlan Mendy. He's now coming in at 60,000 coins. He does have the ability previously to be in 2 different evolutions to make him into an 86. I've still got to finish this one off and then put him into the Bomb Pass Store one, and it will make him into an 86 with decent passing. The stats already, he's already got the 4-star, 5-star, which is just perfect. The only thing he's missing really is a Playstyle Plus, which I can imagine will come very, very soon. But he, for me, is just the easiest option that you can go with to have as a very, very cheap left back. And then I've already got my last one already set out. I know exactly who it's going to be. There is a person, if you are starting the game now, if you've just come through, there is a card you can start with, and that's Undogi. I absolutely love this card. At the start of the game, very nice balance across the board. Obviously, the skill move weak foot, nothing too crazy, but 6'1", he's got good pace, Physicality, decent. Defending with a shadow, with an anchor, decent enough. Dribbling, you can definitely see where the kind of difference is now going. But even then, you look at the composure side of it, 78 to an 81. I know Mendy's got another upgrade to come, but that's a decent starting left back now. Obviously, the role plus plus is going to have a big factor. False back plus plus for Teo. You've obviously got the wing back for both of these two boys, as well as then a false back on just a plus. So it is all dependent as well on that if you find somebody more suited to your style. And then we'll move into some of the centre backs. So an easy one to start with, to be fair. I think there's only probably one option that you can go with as number one. We're not going to choose Ballon d'Ors because naturally we can't pack them. So Virgil van Dijk will be the number one in this spot at 4.2 million coins. Crazy amount, but he isn't necessarily the only one in this position because naturally you're going to choose his gold as well. I don't know if I'd go and buy the 4.2 million one. It's very, very nice. It's a good statted card, but realistically, save yourself a little bit of pennies. 4 million for this card is criminally crazy. Now, he is obviously a upgradable card, so that is fair enough. He has been upgraded now, so Aerial Plus, everything you need to know is absolutely up there. But who's going to partner him? Because we've got a lot of different options personally. We've got a Maldini. We've then go further down for Rio Ferdinand, Lucio, Yap Stan, Blanc, Desai, even a Rejo and company throwing their hat in. Now, I will always go kind of tried and tested with this. Personally for me, Maldini has got to be the option. Maldini is unbelievable as always. To start with, I think he's one of the better centre-backs and then needs to progress. And then depending on how quickly he progresses is also how easily he stays in that second spot, because Militao with a big upgrade, Arejo with a big upgrade, Company, Rio, all them players that we listed, as soon as they take that next step up, a double play style plus that's better, a better pace, a better physical, that's going to make him a little bit less desirable. But I think for right now, at 2.88 mil, he's got to be the man behind there in the back line for me. He's just got to be. Now, if we are looking at kind of the medium value, again, there is a lot of centre-backs this year. I think if we're looking between, say, 500 and 200,000, it's a big price gap, but you've got to get everybody. I think for me, there is definitely the second kind of player that I personally prefer, Gabriel. Easy one with the Aerial Plus. For me, he's definitely been fantastic. And then if I look at the kind of next one, I'm thinking along the lines, because he's a little bit cheaper now. In fact, we'll kind of put him in because I suppose 177 is still expensive to some extent, but it's definitely not in a cheap category. And that's why I've held him off here. It's going to be Virgil van Dijk. Gabriel Aerial Plus, we know it's broken. It's a big upgrade for him. And then also Virgil van Dijk, another cracking upgrade as always. Like, obviously for the purple, it's beautiful. He's just the gold card as well, so that's all he is. I know it's got signature signings, but that is just the gold card as standard. We got him untradeable. He has been an absolute rock of the back line, and I don't think there's any basic back line that should not have him at this point in the game. Now, if I'm looking at the cheap options, you've got a few different options here. Personally, for me, I'm going to put the partner in crime, Saliba, next to him. 100,000 coins. I think it's a well worth investment. And then next to him, again, couldn't be easy, can be hard, depending on who you want to go for. Again, I'm going to go pretty standard with him. I'm going to go Militao. Now, obviously, they have got upgrades for Militao. Saliba's still waiting on his, but he has been absolutely unbelievable to pair with Virgil van Dijk. Both of them have been absolutely nuts there. Obviously, with Saliba, he brings in the Anticipate, whereas Virgil brings in the Aerial Plus. Unfortunately for Militao's base, doesn't bring anything in, but unbelievable centre-back ability. So it's quite an easy one. Obviously, Virgil Maldini, Gabriel Virgil, Saliba Militao. So then we move on to right-backs then. Another very straightforward one in my opinion. I don't think right-backs are that difficult nowadays because there's not a crazy amount that I'm like, yes, they are an absolute must. It's very hand-picked, unless you get to kind of like the top, like Alberto, Carfu, Maicon obviously, and then the number one, in my opinion, is going to be Thuram. We'll kind of get into him in a second. Into the mid, I personally would go with the Man U player. I would go with Delo. I think he's fantastic for the price that you're paying. And then into the low end, surprisingly, he's so cheap. Definitely going to be upgraded soon, but he can go in to the no pressure evolution. It's going to be Kyle Walker. Thuram coming in at about 1.7 mil, which is just nuts in itself. But for me, having that fullback plus plus is going to be brilliant because that is perfectly what I like. He has got the ability to play into centre-back as well, so having that versatility just like Carlos Alberto is going to make him an absolute threat in that back line. We then have Delo, I think is undeniable, a very, very good card. Like, he's very nice and spread across all of the stats. Now, he doesn't have the fullback plus that I personally like, but still has that use in that right back zone and does it very, very well. The only thing we're waiting for with him would have been a playstyle plus. And then obviously with Walker, he just brings the bug standard. He's 10,000 coins, he's easy to get on with, great pace, defending just needs that upgrade as well as the physical, and he just does the job. He's a full spec plus, and that's really all we're going to get from him at the moment, but I can imagine they will give us some big upgrades for him. So then, CDMs. Quite an easy one, to be honest. Obviously, we've got the nice Ballon d'Or winner, but that card is not, unfortunately, available in any Shockers situation. We're not Team of the Year yet. So the first one is going to be classed as a centre mid. I don't know why he's a centre mid and not having that ability of a CDM, but it's absolutely fine because I think Vieira always has everything you need in that CDM role. He is absolutely perfect there. We've then got Tchouaméni for the mid, and then for the final one, lots of options. Conte's obviously here. We've got a few people coming down at the bottom when you look at someone like a Matuidi, Stanway coming in relatively cheap, and then we go a bit further down. But my cheap beast at the moment is going to be a little bit of Zachariah. Obviously, all of them are fantastic at what they do. Vieira's going to be number one, of course. Like, it's Vieira. He's got relatively bog standard stats. Like, the defending physical definitely feels a lot better this year, but in terms of kind of everything else, there's nothing like crazy. We remember the the end footers one. It was like a 96, 97, and I'm like, the stats don't read that, but he's still brilliant in whatever he does. And I think this year he does the exact same. The block plus, everything you need from him is absolutely unbelievable. Tchouaméni, I think he's a little bit overhyped at times. I do think in terms of him as a card, it could be better, but I like his kind of just game prowess. His gold card's exactly the same. He's just very good at being in that midfield, and I think every upgrade he gets is just absolutely perfect. And if he can go into an evolutions to maybe sort a bit more pace or a playstyle plus in the near future, that would be fantastic as well. But Zachariah, for me, stats-wise, like, we're looking pretty gravy for an 86 rated Trailblazer. 87 on the pace, great composure, decent defending physical, bit of passing. I mean, what's there not to love about this card? Other than not having the playstyle plus, holding plus plus on the obvious rolls. Easy. Absolutely easy. So then we move into the centre mid roles. This is where it starts to get a little bit more serious with the midfielders, because this is where the big boys play. Obviously, for the first one, there is a few options that you can go with. For me, it's going to be into an icon. I believe is he considered Cam? I don't even know which one. There he is. I mean, I don't really need to say much more than that. Then into kind of like the mid-roll. Again, there's a lot of options. A lot of nice options that you can go with. A few that are a little bit expensive still, but I do think there's one option for me that I'd say is perfect, and that's got to be Valverde. Absolutely, you know what you're getting. Which then takes us into the low variant, which, to be fair, in terms of midfielder, is always the hardest part. It's one of them that I'm like, who do you truly go with and say, as a bug standard card, that is who you want? And I'm kind of in an agreement and a disagreement with him, but I really do like Frankie de Jong. I think he, for me, is just a wonderful midfielder. Holding plus, again, whether you'd want that more as a ball maker or ball player. For me, I think with him, he works well in that role, where he's a playmaker plus plus as well, which is the extra. I think Bellingham could have a shout, but I'm starting to really not like Bellingham in the midfield anymore, and I do think it's because I do have this man there as well. Both of them being the playmaker plus plus, it leads to the roles not matching as such. So that is going to be the big problem with the midfield, is having two identical midfielders isn't going to work this year. Obviously, Hullet. It's Hullet. If you manage to get a Hullet Vieira kind of midfield, he's got himself the shadow striker in Cam, box to box in centre mid, and then advance forward in striker. He's always going to be incredible. He's a 4-5. It's Hullet. I mean, there's very little to say about Hullet other than that is his name and he is that good. He's coming in at a whopping 6 0.10 million coins, which is just nuts. Valverde coming in just over 200 now, which is nice. And then De Jong is very, very reasonable in the 5 to 10k mark. And then we're going to take a look into the cams. Now, the top position in cam is definitely talented. Pele, Zidane, Cruyff, Charlton, Baggio, Zico, like there's not a wrong option there. There's just a dependent on style. For me, as a cam, I'm all about the incisive pass. So as much as Pele is unbelievable, I prefer him in that striking role. Zidane, for me, with the incisive pass, is going to be my number one in that role. When we look at the middle ground, I think, again, looking at incisive, for me, it works really well. I think Schneider would be my easy option to go with there. And then finally picking off the low end, again, going into the centre mid for no reason whatsoever, other than the fact that they don't put them in cam if they can play cam, is going to be for our boy De Bruyne. Now, obviously with De Bruyne, there's a big red flag in the 67 pace. This year, it's most definitely a lot more easier to get these sorts of players in your team, especially if they can pass at the level De Bruyne can. He's not going to be dribbling past anybody. He's not going to be running on goal as much as you need to be. The incisive pass is going to work its magic. He holds it in the middle. He is the playmaker, the half winger if you wanted to come on there and kind of move it across into the striker, and he does it very, very well. And he will get an evolution with more pace as well in the near future. Schneider, on the other hand, he's going to be the playmaker plus as well. Incisive plus, which is exactly what I need for him, and he has got everything there. Bit of pace, bit of shooting, decent dribbling, great passing, and then slight physicality, which works again very well and needs the upgrade soon. But Zidane's going to have every biscuit in his basket. 5-star, 5-star. Pace-wise, could do it with an upgrade, but that's fine because shooting's 90, passing and dribbling's 94, great physicality, has everything you need, and again, can be that playmaker. But like I say, it all depends on how you play and what playstyle pluses you are looking for in that role. And then we move on to left wing. Now, this is definitely up for debate because there is, again, so many nice left wingers that you can go with, depending on who you've packed. Now, obviously, for me, Ronaldinho would always be up there as one of the best to ever do it. But in this scenario, I'm personally preferring Vinny at this point. The Rapid Plus, obviously having the 5-star, 4-star, is exactly the same. Stats-wise, we're looking kind of different on both of them, but we have got that little bit more shooting and passing on, obviously, Ronaldinho. A lot more pace on, obviously, Vinny, as well as then the 95, 93 dribbling. But the Rapid Plus is going to sway my vote over the technical, personally. So Vinny would go into my top spot with Ronaldinho looking next to him and Vinny's other two cards looking next to him again. Into the mid, I think this one's quite an easy one. Obviously, it's that boy right there in a cheeky bit of Leao. Then finally, if I was looking at the kind of lowest you can go with here, I think he comes in as more of a left mid. But again, he's done very, very well in the game. He has got an upgrade at the moment, but it was a little bit expensive. And that's going to be Nico Williams. Now, again, fantastic at what he does. He's got the Rapid Plus, great pace. You can definitely tell he was a starting sort of player more so than anything, but he does it very, very well. Rafael Leao coming in now about 280, which is dropping price slightly. 5-star, 4-star. Got the Rapid also. That was happy accident. Obviously, again, needs a little bit more of an upgrade, but the general prowess of him as a left wing has been phenomenal. He has got the inside forward plus. That's where Nico Williams has it for the left mid instead. So two different options for two different positions. But obviously with Vinny, it's just Vinny. Like, Vinny is unbelievable. Great dribbling across the board. Obviously, we're going to get a bigger Neymar upgrade. We'll end up with a Leao proper upgrade. Nico Williams will get one. And we'll have to be fighting it over them. But I think for right now, Vinny is far in the lead. Right wing pretty much picks itself, to be honest. Again, another one that is so easy on the kind of the levels that you've got. The first one is coming in as a lower rated one. That's going to be Jairzinho. Now, there is definitely talks of Bale, but the 3-star, 4-star for Bale is going to kill him off before he really can get going, to be honest, in this one. The middle ground is obviously going to be Hansen. I think I like her 92, but paying an extra 3.5 mil, it's just not the way, in my opinion. I think with the Trickster Plus, if that got changed, I could argue then, but I would say the middle Hansen's going to be the much, much better option you can go with. And then the lower sort of option you can go with is Dembele. It's an easy choice, to be honest. I'm a big fan of a 5-5. Obviously, Dembele and Hansen both have it. Jarzinho's missing out on a 5-star weak foot, but all of them have got the stats that you need. Great pace, great dribbling. Obviously, as you go further up, great shooting and a bit of passing. Hansen has a mixture of both, and Dembele is where it lacks a little bit. So you can kind of see where that upgrade really goes. You've obviously got Rapid, Trickster, and Rapid. In terms of roles, we're looking at inside forward plus on everybody. So it makes life a lot easier. And then we move straight into the strikers, because we're just going to run through a few of them, because strikers are so subjective depending on where you go. There is definitely some right and wrong answers in certain aspects. Now, obviously the Ballon d'Ors we're going to leave. I think R9 and Ham are the two easiest icons you're going to pick. They would be the top of the top, tippity top. Everybody loves them. Obviously, with Mbappe, you got the 92 or 91. Technically, the 92 is better. I personally would always go with the 91 for being a little bit cheaper. That's just an easy option. And I'm interested, actually, because with the Ballon d'Ors, he did drop price. He's now 2.9, so he's slightly rebounded a little bit. He did have a little bit of fluctuation where he kind of dropped massively down. I think it was, where was it? I thought it was about 2.6, but he might have been just kind of chilling around this sort of zone, and that's kind of where he's at the moment. We have got the likes of Henry, fantastic striker. I think Kane deserves a big shout for his big upgrade there. We obviously then have a lot of them with the aerial plus broker mechanic in Closer, in Crespo was another one. Obviously Alvarez is always going to be a great shout. We know the Cruyffs, the Eusebios, the Pelés are obviously up there, as well as then a bit of Martinez. Van Nistelrooy doesn't look terrible, but I'd say he's probably one to leave alone a little bit. We then have the likes of Drogba, Lewandowski having the big pace upgrade. Butra, always going to be a great shout. Morgan, I think Morgan's a definite fantastic middle option, especially if you have got the likes of Sophia Smith, if you've got Dunn, Haran, Foudy, I want to say you pronounce the midfielders, or Swanson, Rodman. Easy options. Obviously, Son's got to be in that list as well. Griezmann with a finesse. Ronaldo with the power shot. For Morientes as well, another great one with an aerial plus. And then also the likes of Eto'o. They're just so easy to go with. Dalglish, Voller, Cantona. They all have that kind of specific spot that works very well as a striker. And there's a lot of options at the minute, depending on if you prefer finesse, Travellas, power shots, running through on goal, holding up the ball. There's so many players that you can go with that are just so confident in front of goal and can easily get you the goal. Now, obviously, an R9 Mbappe partnership pretty much won't be broken, but you can get close. Obviously, Enquiries, it's going to be another one in the future. Probably not now, but the future is looking really bright for him. He is going to have a monster card by the end of the game. And as you kind of go further down, you're looking at a lot of the golds. I think you're looking at Son still, maybe a cheeky Griezmann, a Rashford evolution, a Ronaldo with a power shot, and you can kind of keep going further down. And eventually, you'll get to the point where, okay, strikers are not necessarily going to do it without a big evolution, because naturally, the lower you go down, the less chance you're going to have. But we do see a lot of good striker evolutions, even the one yesterday with the 86 Suarez. You can make him with a power shot. It's looking very good for a very budgeted area. Like, we're talking about the top of the top. Getting the evolutions is still going to work as well. So that's going to be everybody on the list. Make sure you do like and subscribe, and I will catch you all for the next one. Peace.